is upcoming. Twitter. Twitter. Facebook's in good shape. Twitter's in good shape. How about the Rumble? The Rumble. Gotta check on the Rumble. The Rumble. The Rumble is good. How is the YouTube? How? All right. We got everything rocking. How much time do we got? 0 time. Let's run the intro.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Welcome to the 9dNation. We're on episode 59. What is the 9dNation? A Bible reading with co-host Black Yoda. Let me do the Bible reading real quick, because we're going to read the entire chapter 26. And it's going to be done fast. And my new gut feeling is we start with the Hebrew. And I don't do the Hebrew anymore. I just listen and learn. Because, I don't know, man. This guy does Hebrew better than me. Let me share the screen, though. Why is there... Okay, there we go. Let me switch to the... Oh, that's the wrong background. No, hang on. Wait. There we go. Where's... Why? There we go. That's incorrect. Oh, it needs to move over here. What is going on today? This is just a mess. All right, now let's look at the Foxhole chat. I clearly was not ready. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing, can you? I did that. It's just a minor little thing like that. And Black Yoda's in the house. Doesn't hawk up loogies on the camera. That's true. Tuppy, nice. All right, let's get this going here. Where? This is so weird. There we go. All right. I feel like that needs to go right there. Okay. I don't know if that's exactly where it's been for years. Push buttons. Oh, the flag is getting thrown. I'm going to need a mental clarity flag thrown, please. All right. So, as people are trickling in, I'm not saying this is the least important part of the show, but I'm going to put it first. I did that last week. All right. So, let's get it out of the way. I don't mean it that way, but here's 6.5 minutes of the Torah read by a professional. I think. I hope.
פרק כ"ו. ויהי רעב בארץ, מלבד הרעב הראשון אשר היה בימי אברהם, וילך יצחק אל אבימלך מלך פלישתים גררה. וירא אליו אדוני ויאמר, אל תרד מצרימה, שכון בארץ אשר אומר אליך. גור בארץ הזאת, ואהיה עמך, ואברכך, כי לך ולזרעך אתן את כל הארצות האלה, והקימותי את השבועה אשר נשבעתי לאברהם אביך. והרביתי את זרעך ככוכבי השמיים, ונתתי לזרעך את כל הארצות האלה, והתברכו בזרעך כל גויי הארץ. עקב אשר שמע אברהם בקולי, וישמור משמרתי, מצוותי, חוקותי ותורתי. וישב יצחק בגרר, וישאלו אנשי המקום לאשתו, ויאמר אחותי היא, כי ירא לאמור אשתי, פן יהרגוני אנשי המקום על רבקה, כי טובת מראה היא. ויהי כי ערכו לו שם הימים, וישקף אבימלך מלך פלישתים בעד החלון, וירא והנה יצחק מצחק את רבקה אשתו. ויקרא אבימלך ליצחק ויאמר, אך הנה אשתך היא, ואיך אמרת אחותי היא? ויאמר אליו יצחק, כי אמרתי פן אמות עליה. ויאמר אבימלך, מה זאת עשית לנו? כמעט שכב אחד העם את אשתך, והבאת עלינו אשם. ויצב אבימלך את כל העם לאמור, הנוגע באיש הזה ובאשתו מות יומת. ויזרע יצחק בארץ ההיא, וימצא בשנה ההיא 100 שערים, ויברכהו אדוני. ויגדל האיש, וילך הלוך וגדל, עד כי גדל מאוד. ויהי לו מקנה צאן ומקנה בקר, ועבודה רבה, ויקנאו אותו פלישתים. וכל הבארות אשר חפרו עבדי אביו, בימי אברהם אביו, סתמו פלישתים, וימלאום עפר. ויאמר אבימלך אל יצחק, לך מעמנו, כי עצמת ממנו מאוד. וילך משם יצחק, וייחן בנחל גרר, וישב שם. וישוב יצחק, ויחפור את בארות המים אשר חפרו בימי אברהם אביו, ויסתמום פלישתים אחרי מות אברהם, ויקרא להן שמות כשמות אשר קרא להן אביו. ויחפרו עבדי יצחק בנחל, וימצאו שם באר מים חיים, ויריבו רועי גרר עם רועי יצחק, לאמור לנו המים, ויקרא שם הבאר עסק, כי התעסקו עמו. ויחפרו באר אחרת, ויריבו גם עליה, ויקרא שמה שטנה. ויעתק משם, ויחפור באר אחרת, ולא רבו עליה, ויקרא שמה רחובות, ויאמר, כי עתה הרחיב אדוני לנו, ופרינו בארץ. ויעל משם באר שבע, וירא אליו אדוני בלילה ההוא, ויאמר, אנוכי אלוהי אברהם אביך, אל תירא, כי איתך אנוכי, וברכתיך, והרביתי את זרעך בעבור אברהם עבדי. ויבן שם מזבח, ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויית שם אוהלו, ויכרו שם עבדי יצחק באר. ואבימלך הלך אליו מגרר, ואחוזת מרעהו, ופיכול שר צבאו. ויאמר עליהם יצחק, מדוע באתם אלי ואתם שנאתם אותי, ותשלחוני מאיתכם? ויאמרו, ראינו כי היה אדוני עמך, ונאמר, תהי נא עלה בנותינו בינינו וביניך, ונכרתה ורית עמך. אם תעשה עמנו רעה כאשר לא נגענוך, וכאשר עשינו עמך רק טוב, ונשלחך בשלום, אתה עתה ברוך אדוני. ויעש להם משתה, ויאכלו וישתו, וישכימו בבוקר, וישבעו איש לאחיו, וישלחם יצחק, וילכו מאיתו בשלום. ויהי ביום ההוא, ויבואו עבדי יצחק, ויגידו לו על אודות הבאר אשר חפרו, ויאמרו לו, מצאנו מים. ויקרא אותה שבעה, על כן שם העיר באר שבע עד היום הזה. ויהי עשיו בן 40 שנה, ויקח אישה את יהודית, בת בארי החיתי, ואת בוסמת בת אלון החיתי. ותהיינה מורת רוח ליצחק ולרבקה.
Okay. I thought he left a verse off, but hey, I'll take it. No, not chapter 27 yet. All right, Genesis chapter 26, New American Standard. So, let me turn back on the camera. All right, so there's chapter 26 in English. Not trying to be an Englishist, but we'll read it in English too. But our story so far in the first 58 weeks adds up to this. Water-based reset, law, no demon human half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Shemite Abraham moved to Philistine and had Egyptian Ishmael, who sired 12 princes, and Huronian Isaac, who had Esau the Red, and favored second-born Huronian Jacob. So chapter 26. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So Isaac went to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. And the Lord appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land of which I shall tell you. Live for a time in this land, then I will be with you and bless you, for to you and your descendants I will give all these lands. And I will establish the oath which I swore to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and will give your descendants all these lands. And by your descendants all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed me and fulfilled his duty to me and kept my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. My statutes and my laws. So Yitzchak lived in Gerar. When the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, she's my sister. For he was afraid to say, my wife, thinking, the men of the place might kill me on account of Rebekah, since she is beautiful. Now it came about, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down through a window and saw them. And behold, Isaac was caressing his wife Rebekah. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, she certainly is your wife. So how is it that you said, she is my sister? And Isaac said to him, because I thought otherwise I might be killed on account of her. And Abimelech said, what is this that you've done to us? One of the people might have easily slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. So Abimelech commanded all the people, saying, he who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death. Now Isaac sowed in the land and reaped in the same year 100 times as much. And the Lord blessed him. And the man became rich and continued to grow richer until he became very wealthy. For he had possessions of flocks and herds and a great household, so the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which his father's servant had dug in the days of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up by filling them with dirt. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are too powerful for us." So Isaac departed from there and camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Let's check and see. Right. Then Isaac dug again the wells of the water, which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the same names which his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, "The water is ours." So he named the well Esek, because they argued with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over it too. So he named it Sitnah. Then he moved away from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he named it Rehoboth. For he said, "At last the Lord has made room for us, and we will be fruitful in the land." And went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants, for the sake of my servant Abraham." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with his advisor Ahuzah and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We have seen plainly that the Lord has been with you." So we said, "An oath must now be taken by us, that is, by you and us. So let us make a covenant with you that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." Then he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they got up early and exchanged oaths. Then Isaac sent them away, and they left him in peace. Now it came about on the same day that Isaac's servants came in and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. All right, let me pause and catch up with the chat, because we're grinding through an entire 36-verse chapter, and we're going to do it in 20 more minutes. We're going to be done, and we're going to be on to the panel, on to the co-hosts. By the way, oh, you have pink eye in both eyes. I'm sorry, Miss 320. Does this suck? I didn't smack him when he started speaking in tongues because Hebrews too easily. Yeah. Hebrews too easily. Oh, that's terrible. Abraham lived around 1700 BC, and the Philistines didn't exist until people after 1200 BC. How does this work? Does the 600-year delta thing change that if we stop with the Masoretic text? I can't remember. So, I just wanted to point out that guy that read the Hebrew for 36 verses, he hawked up a couple loogies. He really did. Better than I usually do. All right, so now what I want to do is read to you guys a boatload. I thought I did read the question to Thaggy above. That's what I was reading it from. Yeah. Oh, probably the scriptures have been written so far after the fact they use the names that were in use then. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, definitely they flip with some Abimelechs and son of Abimelech, and you know how they always like to keep the name. They pass the name down, like John has John has John has John. All right. So I'm just going to go through the words. The whole purpose of me going through the words originally was I don't trust these supposed scholars. I think we're all smarter than they are. You know, we should double check everything, right? So that's it. I'm just going to go through the words, not so much in context, but any word whose first appearance is in this chapter. Just using the concordance, but I looked at a couple different concordances and put it all together. So, chukal. That's the first word that we have never seen before. And it means something prescribed or owed or a statute. Most often a statute. There's 105 examples in the Old Testament. And like that. Mitzvah. It's a command. Could be human or divine. And it's 184 examples in the Old Testament. And it comes from the word sava, which has 493 also usages in the Old Testament. And the vast majority of that is command or commandment. So I was pretty comfortable with that word. Mishmereth, that's a guard, a watch, a charge, a function. Most often has a sense of duty. He said duty. The root comes from mishmar, which is a place of confinement or jail. So like a prison guard, watch, observance. So there's 78 examples of mishmereth in the Old Testament. Torah, that's direction, instruction, or law. Nearly always law, 222 examples in the Law and Prophets or the Old Testament. Comes from yara, which is to throw or shoot. I don't see that. But I guess I could see it because if you shoot an arrow and you hit the mark, then you've kept the law. I kind of see that. But anyway, arak, that's to belong or to prolong. There's 34 examples in the Old Testament. I didn't dig much deeper. Ek means how. Nearly always means how. 82 examples in the Old Testament. Comes from ai, which means where. So that works. Asham, that's offense or guilt. Usually it's a guilt offering indicating that you must have been guilty. Comes from asham, which is to offend or be guilty. So that's the same word. Anyway, some slightly tweaked word. Anyway, guilt, asham, guilt, is used 46 times in the Old Testament. Sha'ar, that's a measure. There's only one use in the entire Old Testament. It does come from, let's see, a root that has also only one use. So I looked in Study Light. It thinks a gate is involved. I don't see much. So in the context, it's 100 something, 100-fold maybe, 100 times, 100x. So if you want to dig into sha'ar, that's concordance number 8180, I guess. Let's see, what is that? Concordance number 8180. Yeah. Abudah, that's service. Only two examples, but it comes from abad, which is to work or serve, and we've seen that before. Kana, to be jealous or zealous. There's 32 examples in the Old Testament. Dictionary says jealous is to want the other guy's success, but it can mean to be protective of. In this case, I think it means to be protective of. Satham, we need that word, is to stop up, to shut up, or keep close, or to hide. It can often mean clog a fountain. There's 14 examples in the Old Testament. Atsam, that's bones. Now, it's usually used as a strength due to power. It can even mean numerous, like you're numerous. And you can imagine that a skeleton is a bunch of bones, but there's so many of them that they're seen as strong. I know that's a bit of a stretch. There's 20 examples of Atsam in the Old Testament. Pretty much means bones. And we've seen the stem etzim that it comes from in 3 earlier chapters of Genesis, so I felt pretty comfortable with that word. Chana, that's to decline, to bend down, to encamp, usually to camp, basically. There's 143 examples in the Old Testament. It comes from chanan, which is to beseech. So I guess you're like camping out until they agree. You're like, please, 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 please. Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? No. Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? No. Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? No. It's from The Simpsons. Nakal, that's a brook. 141 examples in the Old Testament. The root is nakal, also, to get or take as possession. I don't know how that works. They say it means brook, but it also means to take. I don't know. Asak, that's to contend. Only one example, but it comes from ashak, which is to oppress or wrong or extort, which is used 35 times. So I could see contend. I went with contend. Rib or rub is to strive or contend. So there's a couple words in a row for contend. So they contended. They're both in verse 20. We're on verse 20, by the way. I should tell you the verse these words are coming from. Sorry I didn't do that before. We're up to verse 20. I have that in my notes. There's 70 examples in the Old Testament. Rachab, verse 22, to be or grow wide or large, usually to enlarge. So he's basically saying the Lord has made a path for us or made a place. He's kind of scooped out, finally these people will leave us alone here in this neighborhood. 25 examples of the Old Testament. Ashak the monkey. Don't you know you're going to be Ashak the monkey? Kara, dig. 17 examples in the Old Testament. We're on verse 25. Study Light says it's the picture of a palm of the hand and the picture of the head of a man put together. So the palm of a man. So it's like hollowed out. So this is how you dig, I guess. That makes sense, right? We're on verse 26. Merea, that's a friend or a companion. It comes from a root ra'ah, supposedly, which is to break or to pasture. Don't know how it could be both. We saw it in chapter 4, so maybe it means like a friend, like in the fold, part of the pasture, part of the crew. I don't know. There's 7 examples in the Old Testament. On verse 27, madua, that means why, what reason? They always translate as why, all 72 times pretty much. Comes from the word ma, which is also what or how. It's related a little bit to yada somehow. I don't know. So it's a why in terms of seeking better understanding. Abodah, verse 27, that means labor or service. There's 145 examples in the Old Testament. And abad, which is work and serve. We already saw that in chapter 2. So it's just another root. I think we talked about another root earlier, just today. Verse 33, we're almost done here. No. Verse 35, mora, last word. Bitterness or trouble, when used figuratively. Comes from marar, which is to be bitter. Now, there's only one example of mora, but there's 13 examples of marar. Most translators look in this verse are basically saying that Esau's wives make Isaac and Rebekah's life a living hell. They just cause them no end of pain. So, he married a Hittite, added more Hurrian blood to the mix. See, they're drawing a distinction between the Hittites and the Hurrians. Because when they go back and get a Hurrian, it makes Isaac and Rebekah happy. When they go to a Hittite, it makes them upset. So this text, Genesis itself, these chapters, really draw a distinction between the Hittites and the Hurrians. So that's going to be duppy. We're going to have to find a way to transcend or fix or something that. I don't know. All right, I got 13 minutes left or less. Maybe I can get it done even faster. But it is time. I have prepared for you, before we bring on co-host and panel, the Gregslation or the Rosslation, the G-Rosslation. I'm just going to jam through the story, having done all that word digging, and put it all back together. So a second famine, not the Egypt one that Abraham got rich from, the go-away Peola after the Sarah incident. Isaac went to Abimelech, a Philistine, in Gerar. Remember, Abraham had done that exact same thing also. Ahiah appeared and said, "Not Egypt this time. Where I say, stay here, Gerar, and I'll be with you. And for you I give all these lands to your descendants, and I will confirm the oath that I swore to Abraham. I will make your offspring like the stars and give your offspring all these lands, and the lands will be blessed by your seed, even all the nations of the earth. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my commandments, my statutes and laws." So Isaac hung out in Gerar. The dudes around Isaac and Gerar were like, "Hey, who's this Rebekah?" And he's like, "My sister." He was afraid to say she's his wife, unless the men of the place would kill him, since Rebekah was hot. Eventually, after a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out a window and saw Isaac and Rebekah cavorting, laughing, sporting, making kissy-kissy sounds. It's not real clear what they were doing, but something that made him suspicious. Abimelech summoned him and was like, "Yo, you said she was your sister. Clearly she's your wife. How could you?" Isaac was like, I was a skirt for my life. Abimelech was like, man, this could have been really bad. What if someone in my country got with her? We'd have been guilty. Like they cared? I guess they did. Abimelech got the word out saying, if you touch Rebekah or Isaac, it's a capital crime. Isaac farmed the land and got back 100-fold. Ahiah blessed him. Isaac kept getting super rich with stuff and animals and staff. Philistines got envious. His father's servants' wells, they dug up. The Philistines clogged up. Abimelech told Isaac he was too strong and asked him to leave. Isaac left and stayed in a motorhome, well, really a tent, in Gerar Valley and stayed there. Isaac refreshed the wells Abraham left in Gerar, and the Philistines had clogged them. Isaac also kept the same names of the wells. One of the wells was springing that the servants dug at the valley, but the local Gerarian herdsmen argued, saying, it's ours, so it got named Esek. So they dug somewhere else, and that one was argued about, so it was called Sitnah. So they dug another one called Rehoboth, and this one did not lead to an argument. So they said, Ahiah has made us some elbow room. We'll rock it here. Isaac went to Beersheba, and Ahiah appeared to him that night and said, I am the God of Abraham. Don't be afraid. I am with you, and I'll bless you and multiply your descendants for the sake of Abraham, my servant. Isaac built an altar there and called on Ahiah and kept his tent there, and his servants dug a well there. Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac's like, what are you doing here? You kicked me out. We've noticed you have Ahiah with you, so we're wanting you to promise not to be mean to us. We want to constrain you somehow now while we can. We've been cool, right? When we kicked you out, it was really us being nice, right? I mean, it turned out well in some ways too, right? Ahiah did bless you, right? So Isaac threw them a party. Next day they swore an oath, and Isaac gave them a send-off, and all was peaceful. Then one day the servants came and told Isaac why they dug more wells, and he's like, we got water. They named it Sheba, which is why Beersheba got its name. When Esau was 40, he married Beeri the Hittite, daughter of Judith, Elon the Hittite's daughter Basemoth, which caused a living hell for Isaac and Rebekah. So now, our story so far would be water-based reset, law, no demon-human half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Shemite Abraham moved to Philistine and had Egyptian Ishmael, who sired 12 princes, and Haranian Isaac, who had Esau the Red, and favored second-born Haranian Jacob. Generational famine hit Isaac, and he stopped short of Egypt at Ahiah's word and did the wife's sister trick in Gerar like Abraham did. Isaac got so rich, Abimelech had to recognize this generation. Esau married into the Hittites, the Hamites, to Isaac's dismay. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 study questions. I'll read them so you can think about it in the chat, and we might chat about them in the panel, which is going to start in mere minutes. What is the reason a mono-god would need to tell Isaac he'd renew what he told his dad? Was it human weakness in Isaac's part, and he just knew? So he's saying Isaac is a gift to the world, his descendants, basically. So he's got special boy status. Not so much a question as a comment. So Abraham keeping the law was why Isaac was a blessing. Did Abraham do it 100%? What about the trip to Egypt? Was that condoned? Did he handle the hide your kids, hide your wife situation right? We're going to play hide your wife, by the way. I have to. I'll do that when the panel gets started, as the panel's trickling in. Let's get it started.
Well,
do you remember that? Isaac was only cousins with Rebekah, not half-sister. So he's obviously imitating his dad, but fully lying. Whereas Abraham, did he know? How did he even know? Did Abraham talk about it? Hey, guess what we did when you were a kid? Or did Sarah tell him? She was like, you wouldn't believe what your dad did. How did they go that long with no one putting the moves on a hottie? These pagans sound really chill and moral, do they not? Now, just a thought. Is Isaac farming human cultures? Just keep it in mind. Remember how Abimelech had come to treaty with Abraham in chapter 21 with Phicol, and Abraham secured a well that may have already been his with a little kickback? Same thing. So now, I'm going to read a super short, compressed version of our story so far, and that's it for the preamble. We just did the entire chapter in 35 minutes. Water-based reset law. No human demon half-breeds. No murder, no blood drinking. Shemite Abraham moved to Philistine and had an Egyptian Ishmael who sired 12 princes, and Haranian Isaac who had Esau the Red who married back into the Hamites. Isaac favored second-born Haranian Jacob. Okay, let me get our Jitsi. Let's get a new Jitsi link going. Avocado. Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, oh, Just Jim has given us a cookie. Thank you, Just Jim. Chops ITMC says, just throw in a cookie. Thank you for that, both of you. All right, here comes for Black Yoda and friends. Joining meeting. All right, I'm going to play Hydra Kids.
Obviously, we have a rapist in Lincoln Park. He's climbing in your windows, he's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband, cause they raping everybody out here. You don't have to come and confess, we're looking for you. We gon' find you, we gon' find you, so you can run and tell that, run and tell that, run and tell that. Homeboy, homeboy. We got your t-shirts and the left fingerprints and all. You are so dumb, you are really dumb, for real.
The man got away, leaving behind evidence.
I was attacked by some idiot in the project. So dumb, so dumb, so dumb, so he's climbing in your windows, he's snatching your people up, trying to rape them. So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband, cause they raping everybody out here. You don't have to come and confess, we're looking for you. We gon' find you, we gon' find you, so you can run and tell that, run and tell that, run and tell that. Homeboy, homeboy.
No, stop, Bernie.
That's in honor of Isaac hiding his wife as his sister. Black Yoda, good evening.
Dude, I'm gonna have to apologize because I've been so busy I didn't read what we're supposed to go over. But
Fair.
from what you were talking about, how was that not the Abraham story all over again?
I know. It's almost identical. Only he lied harder. Abraham at least could sort of say she was his sister.
Basically, they're just saying that all the women in their family are hot.
Right. Yoda's phone froze, I think. Or my connection.
I see him still in the call, but no camera.
Yeah.
Well, while we wait for him, I could ask some questions.
Please do.
Okay. I had a question earlier about how the timing works in saying that Abraham and Isaac interacted with Philistines.
Right.
It's well accepted that the Philistines didn't really exist as a people in the Levant until after the Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BC. Whereas Abraham and presumably Isaac, most people think that they lived like, 1700-ish.
Right.
1600-ish BC, so quite a long ways before that. And I did get kind of an answer from Thagi, and I think I agreed with it without knowing at first that I did.
Yeah.
That by the time they wrote this stuff down, they used names for probably some people and places that were the names of those people and places. And I mean, people like a tribe or something
Right.
at the time they wrote it down. And I'll
Right.
give
The more
you,
modern. Yeah.
yeah. And the perfect example might be the use of Pi Ramses in the Exodus narrative.
Right.
At the time, unless you're a strict, Ramses had to be the pharaoh of the Exodus. If you don't hold to that strictly, that city was actually Avaris, the Hyksos capital, all the way up until the time that Ramses renamed it Pi Ramses. So the later name was what was used in the Bible, and I think that's probably the reason that a lot of people insist that Ramses had to be the pharaoh, because of that name of the city.
Right.
But if you recognize that it was renamed later and there actually was a city there before, it opens up the possibility of the Exodus happening earlier. So likewise, these people, the Philistines, that was sort of the latest name that they remembered for those people by the time they wrote the story down.
Right.
So it could have been a completely different name of people at the time of Abraham and still be relevant. Just, kind of lost in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Where I think we'd want to be careful is, do they accidentally or intentionally cover up any migrations or people's mixing? Because I'm obsessing with genealogies at this point, right?
And I'm not.
Right. Well, I think it's okay to,
Wait,
Paul
hold on.
said,
I got to butt
Hey,
in while I
there's Black Yoda.
got chance. I got
Yeah,
chance
yeah.
right now.
Jump
I
in.
got chance. I'm gonna use Bernie's phone to do this thing because mine is burning hot, and that's the devil, people. He doesn't want us talking about this shit,
Right on.
and I want to get on the fat part of that ass. So when you see me come in later, it's gonna be on Bernie's phone. It might not show up as Black Yoda or just
Right.
right. So I'm gonna disconnect.
Right on. Perfect.
Did you get to finish what you were saying?
Yeah, like I'm using Paul's terminology. He says after he makes use of understanding the genealogies and he gets his eyes open on the road to Damascus and he goes, "Oh, I've been persecuting the Messiah." And he stops and he converts and he becomes like an opposite dude. He's like the opposite of everything he ever was.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows the genealogy as well as anybody at that point. And he's busy telling people, don't obsess about it. But I don't think that he's claiming it was never useful. He wanted to know the bloodline of Jesus. So I think by saying don't obsess about genealogies, he means going forward. I think obsessing about them, what we're obsessing about, and you do it more than I do, you're right, I give you credit. I think that's okay. That's encouraged by Paul in a way, right?
Well, I mean, even no matter what side you take on that story, there appears to be a group of these people that do obsess about the genealogy.
Right. Well, if Paul's going to put his chips on, we've found him, of course he's going to say, this is the Kwisatz Haderach, to borrow from Dune.
Right.
Don't keep looking for him. He has to say that. He has to say, okay, it doesn't matter anymore, because he's making that bet. But go ahead. Sorry.
His book would be a hard sell if he didn't say that.
Right, exactly. Now, anybody who doesn't go along with that, because maybe they don't they're like, well, I don't really like that program. This guy just promised a bunch of vague peace. He doesn't really overthrow the Roman government, or, he doesn't build any roads or bridges. They're going to keep doing Tikkun Olam or Tikkun Olam or whatever it's called. Like, through Abraham's descendants, the world will be blessed. So they're going to still obsess about the bloodlines like they were trained for hundreds of years to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't argue that. So I guess before Yoda gets back, I've got one other thing.
Yep.
And that is in the process of quickly scanning about the Philistines to make sure that I had my facts straight. I know that I've run across, and I know you've run across the name Abimelech quite a lot.
Yep.
And see, Wikipedia says that it's a generic name given to all Philistine kings in the Hebrew Bible from the time of Abraham to King David. So again, that's another case of a name not referring to a specific time, or perhaps not referring to the ideal time to make sense of things.
It's more of an office.
But here's what really catches my eye about that name. Do you know what that name actually means?
No, good point. Tell me.
It actually means my father is a king, or son of the king.
Right.
Now, there's two pieces to this that I find fascinating. The first part is Abi, which means son of.
Yep.
And Melech, which means king, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you remember from my shows, remember how all the names throughout like the Middle Ages and stuff were all son of somebody?
Yes.
In different versions, like the Irish would be O'Donnell for son of Donald. In the Normans, it would be Fitzdonald, so to speak, son of Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the Welsh, it's Ap Donald, AP, which is very close to this Abbey.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because, I've kind of made some very distant connections to the Hebrews or the Middle East all the way up into England.
Right.
Now, here's the mind blower one.
Right.
The second part of that name, Melech.
Sure.
Do you remember me talking about that?
Man, you covered a lot. It sounds like Moloch. Was that covered?
Well, you're right. That is connection, because remember, there's no vowels in these ancient languages. So the equivalent of Moloch, or Melech in this case, is MLK. I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, Black Yoda's connection echoes a bit.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes, brother.
Yeah.
The devil is whooping on my ass right now. Wait, hold on, people. I don't even got jokes for how irritated I am right now.
Can I finish?
I didn't even know you were, because I was so irritated with mine. Fuck it, go ahead.
I've got about 4 sentences left. So anyway, so if you remember from my show, I talked about kind of the equivalence possibly between Baal and Moloch, because they both kind of mean Lord or king.
Right.
Not necessarily referring to a god. So when you think of what a Moloch sacrifice is, does that mean it's a sacrifice to the king or to the god king?
Right.
So that fascinates me in terms of how that the word, it almost feels like the word Moloch has been perhaps even purposely misconstrued as some kind of god. They even debate to this day, when they're talking about the Carthaginians and child sacrifice and stuff like that. They debate to this day whether Moloch is a god or is it a type of sacrifice. But they never mention that the word MLK means king.
It doesn't matter if he's a god or a type of sacrifice. What matters is the fact that they're doing that to the kids.
Right.
Well, yeah, but the question is,
Fuck a question.
for what purpose?
Like, do they
You know
get
what?
high from it? Do they gain power? Oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Blake.
A purpose to get the ass whooped. And I brought this up yesterday. You guys know I always tease Pythagoras, right?
Right.
You need. He burnt in one of those motherfuckers. That's how they killed him. I found that out last night. Or night before last.
They put him in one of those melting statues?
Yeah, like the big brass bull thing. Remember that?
I didn't know Pythagoras went down that way.
That's the way Pythagoras, with all the shit that he gave to the world, that Roman motherfucker was like, yeah. And get this, the guy that built it, the guy that made it, they threw him in there when they first used it.
Oh.
That kind of rings a bell. Maybe Thaggy could chime in and say definitively whether that's true or not.
And it's disgusting, but you got to know the truth, people. I'm not trying to scream. I'm just frustrated with the fact that my phone is hot and I got to use yours. Like, it's not gonna help. The reason why my phone is hot, I'm gonna tell y'all, people. These little demons and gremlins and shit, they can fuck with electronics. And lately, they don't want me to talk anymore.
Right.
I heard that Grinder could make your phone hot.
Wait, what?
He said too much grinder on your phone makes it hot.
Grindr.
It's like Tinder for gay dudes.
You motherfucker.
You needed a laugh. Come on.
All right. So I'm not used to using her phone, so it's gonna be goofy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're getting used to it. Yeah.
Normally, my phone gets hot after like an hour and a half when I try to, go live with people. But it went hot as soon as I tried to connect with the fact that I missed you when we normally connect. Like 1 minute I was in the chat, and then I noticed, my phone was doing some goofy shit. Fuck, it's not about me, people. I'm just saying, demons don't like truth.
Agreed.
I don't even know where to start with this on the Bible part that we were talking about. Would the two of you pick that back up?
Well, sure. There was one thing Duppy had said that I'm going to 98% agree with. The possibility that Abimelech may be, well, you mentioned it might mean a type of son of the sacrifice, or son of the king, or son of the type of sacrifice.
Well,
but yeah,
the words that come from MLK, depending on what vowels you throw in there,
right. So
that means king, and trying to figure out how that relates to sacrifice. Some people say it's a type of sacrifice, a Moloch sacrifice, and other people argue that Moloch is the god that they were sacrificing to. They're kind of the same thing, except for the fact that the word means king.
Right.
So are they sacrificing to the god king? And they had god kings, right? That's what the Pharaoh was.
Right. So if you're a king and you got these people that you're leading, I could see you wanting to be constantly killing the firstborn strong males so you stay king. But you're also undermining your own population strength. So foreign invaders are going to have an edge, right? So that's yeah.
Next week. This is a cycle repeating itself.
Yes, I agree.
We really have to go over this 100, next week. You read your shit, for the next whatever.
So yeah, I've already done chapter 27. Jacob repeats a lot of what Isaac does, but it gets a little different.
But why is it so similar?
Well, okay, that's a really good point. So the line of pharaohs all do MK Ultra on their children and inculcate them with their exact same personality and beliefs, super strict, and so that they're all called the same name.
And remember what I said about their immortality obsession. It's
right.
almost like cloning themselves.
So I'm going to take the I love the Vril lizard, right? Where it is them going forward. I'm going to take the Vril lizard out so we don't have too much woo-woo. They're essentially commanding and oh, sorry, Yoda, go ahead.
Gilgamesh had that problem. He was looking for infinite life, right?
Right.
He realized that, fuck, I can't do shit. He built a kingdom wide as fuck, right?
Right.
And he realized he
yeah.
couldn't. But then you got all these other descendants that were just chasing the dream. Why are you chasing that when you know when you die you go back to God?
Right.
Why are you so stuck on being here on Earth?
Well, because this people type doesn't seem to think. You're right. You're asking a very good question. They're willing to basically use their offspring selfishly.
They will sacrifice one of those motherfuckers just to still stay here.
Right.
Just go back to God.
Right.
Well, I look at it this way, that in that kind of a twisted psychology that these people have, it almost seems like they prefer to be a king here on Earth to being just like everybody else in heaven.
At the end of Space Seed, the original series Star Trek, Ricardo Montalban quotes Milton to William Shatner, pointing out it's better to rule in hell than to be a slave.
Yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
You know what? For some reason, I thought you were going to bring that up.
That's funny. You know me too well.
Oh, man.
Nerd alert. But check it out. Abraham. So instead of like the pharaohs and the descendants of the MK Ultra types, the acorn is the tree. Whereas we're used to saying the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. And so here's Abraham allowing Isaac to have his own personality, but it's very similar to Abraham's. And then he allows Jacob to have his own personality, but it's very similar to Isaac's. And then he has 12 sons, and they each have their own personality. So say what you will about the ancient Israelites, but according to their propaganda, they're more humane. They're more civilized in that sense.
Let me butt in on a comment.
Yeah.
Biden has Secret Service, right?
Yep.
I would jump in front of a bullet for him, right?
Right.
But I would for my son.
Right.
My son was in this situation and a shot was fired and I know it went in his direction. I'm fucking jumping, bro.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why are these people so fucking stupid? How do they not see, like this shit that's coming our way? There was a fuck ton of shit coming our way.
I wonder if they think they can win.
What's that?
I wonder if they think they can win. The stakes are super high, but if they can just get that tower to heaven, they can beat the system.
I've wondered about the Tower of Babylon because we got skyscrapers that are taller than what we thought that tower was. Do you know how big the base of that tower would have to be?
Depends how high up the firmament is, right?
That's right, Duppy. Well played.
Hasn't it been done before?
I don't think these people actually have any interest in heaven. They want to be gods right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they inverted it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you can be a girl. Duppy, pull your titties out. You can be a girl.
I've got them out. Can't you see? I'm on camera. Oh, wait. No, I'm not.
You know what? Wait, hold on. Give me a minute. I'm not laughing. Wait, hold on. I'm not laughing at the problem. I'm laughing at the subject. Like, just grow your hair long, Duppy, and fucking you be 100. You know what I mean? You get beers all day at the bar.
Tuesday night is geologist's night.
Ladies' night, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, before I forget, Friday night Belushi's going to let me do a show
Woo!
on his channel. And what I'm going to do is go for the jugular this time rather than spending 6 hours to set up all the evidence to get to the end boss.
Right.
I'm going straight to the end boss just to see what happens.
Love it.
Or are y'all doing music?
No, it's going to be talk.
Oh, that's what's up.
Sweet.
And when you talk to Belushi, ask him to ask me to participate. We.
Well, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be about 1.5 to 2 hours of content, and we'll see how much time we have left for a panel or something.
So Tuesday night at what time?
Friday.
Friday.
Friday night at what time?
I think it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern.
That is really cool.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some new people that haven't seen this stuff before, but I have no idea. I did actually, Thomas from True Reporting.
Oh yeah. With Red Pill.
Yeah, he just changed his format to where he does a strictly call-in show on Wednesdays, and today was the first day. So I called in and plugged that show for Friday night. See if we can get some new people.
He's actually friends with McAllister or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to do a show together.
She's very quirky.
She's fantastic. I listen to all her stuff.
Did you ever see the video where she went off on Jordan Sather?
Yeah, I kind of took her side. I like Jordan, but
I know who she is, and I know who the guy is. The one that you want to, No,
Thomas.
I think they all are.
Say again.
I know who they all are.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he's got a partner now named Brett, who's actually he's pretty sharp.
Yep.
You talking about the youngster Rush?
Thomas from TRU has Brett.
Yeah, I don't know Brett's last name, but I guess a lot of people know Brett from before, but I had never seen him before he got on Thomas's show. But he's pretty sharp.
But wait, so this is Thomas co-host?
Thomas Omer. He has his own show, True Reporting, the one that knows Linda. But
This is he's got a co-host now. That's different.
Yeah, it's
Or
got Brett.
yeah.
Okay.
Frequent guest, like permanent guest, co-host, something like that.
Kind of like me.
You are co-host Black Yoda.
All right.
All right, so that's enough for my plug.
That's fantastic, though, and I'm sorry I'm going to miss it. I'm doing a bounce trip to New York real fast.
You already know the material.
Yeah, but I'm going to be excited to. Okay, Hyksos expulsion. Does that apply to the core of this discussion? Chopside TMC, I think we're going to do a lot of Hyksos expulsion during Exodus, which we might get to in half a year at this rate. What do you think, gentlemen?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think the Hyksos expulsion is very, very relevant to the story, but I also think that the orthodoxy does not want you to make that connection.
Nope.
Interesting.
No. Hey, you know what? I came across a couple of different links last night that was talking about the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church hasn't been the Christian friend, if you really think about it. They wanted to get involved in politics and control the world from the Dark Ages.
Oh yeah, all you have to do is look at the Unum Sanctum and you just go, what the hell were they trying to do? They're
were
basically saying that the Pope owned the world at that point, but it didn't go over that well.
Yeah. They were up there with the kings and the queens trying to run shit. And a lot of dark fucking past history was because of them.
Yeah, I think the kings and queens were part of the family, so to speak, and they also created the Catholic Church. The evidence of that is all the times I've run into early saints in the Dark Ages that were actual, relatives of the kings and queens.
Well, to my knowledge, it was Constantine that created or helped create the Catholic Church before he died.
I think the Catholic Church already existed in a proto form before Constantine. What he did, though, was he made it acceptable in the Roman Empire. He didn't make it the official religion, but he made it acceptable.
Something the other day that talked about Paul created the first Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And Paul, why would it be Paul?
Well, so he was the one preaching to the Gentiles. So he would be the one that created the first
killing Christians.
Wait, what? Sorry.
He was Saul at one point killing Christians.
Yes. But he converted, right? He had the 3-day experience of being blind and thinking hard and being, I was a dick.
Right. So the Catholic Church was, just a minor part of the religious landscape in the Roman Empire up until Constantine officially sanctioned it. And remember, prior to Constantine, the Christians had suffered from persecution every now and then.
Let's stop right there. He had a belief in paganism and what we consider mythology.
Constantine, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he lost his belief in mythological characters.
There's a lot of people that debate whether he actually ever became a Christian.
Right.
I get that, but he knows Jesus was a thing. There's Roman records of it, right? The Catholic Church has it, or the Vatican. They have that shit, right?
If they do, they've never made it public.
They don't want to make it public. They don't want to make God public because they want to push in Lucifer. That's my point. But before I even got to the point.
Question is, did they want to push that Luciferian crap all the way back in the beginning, or is that a later development?
They had to wait till right now because they needed to diet down. And it was going to take that long to just diet down to where you got people twerking on TikTok, doing dumb shit on TikTok and just fuck. They made us stupid. Is my point. Yep. I'll shut up.
They fed us ourselves as cheap hamburgers from McDonald's.
That's why I'm a vegetarian. Fuck
Fair.
That.
Good point.
You know what I mean?
G. Ross, did you ever get a chance to check out that book that I put on my pill page?
You know, I struggle to find a pilled page.
Yeah, it's gotten harder. I found it used to be easier.
Yeah.
I found the best way is to click on somebody's icon in the chat, but outside the chat, it's like, how do you get there?
Right.
But anyway, this book gives a really interesting hypothesis on the evolution of the Catholic Church and why it was created, how they eased it into the empire, and then perhaps recruited Constantine to officially sanction it. It's a really
Okay.
interesting hypothesis. It's a little light on data, but the speculation is very interesting. It includes Mithraism. Mithraism, believe it or not, according to this theory, and I tend to believe it now, Mithraism was an early form of the Freemasons that was used to recruit the military into the Christian religion.
I like that. Now, why is it called Mithra? Do you know?
Now, Mithra is in mythology.
Mithra was an Iranian sun deity that predated that actual Roman Mithraic period.
Does Mitzrayim's name have anything to do with it? Probably not. Just checking.
Not as far as I know, but
okay,
I haven't looked into it. And supposedly, that religion came with some pirates to the Roman Empire. Pompey the Great was fighting a bunch of pirates in the Mediterranean that came from Turkey, and supposedly that's where it came from. I don't know if I believe that story, but it's kind of interesting. But yeah, so from what I found, it kind of looks like the families, same ones we're dealing with today, kind of used Christianity to set up an acceptable religion for the entire empire. And they pushed it behind the scenes through Mithraism in the military. And eventually, when it had been established well enough, they probably convinced Constantine to officially sanction, and that really put it on the road to what it is now.
I'm not trying to be funny, but I kind of am. Do you remember back in the early, like, late 70s when they had the Godzilla movies and shit?
Yep.
Yeah.
They had Mothra as one of the characters.
Oh, no. I wouldn't put it past them.
I don't know, man. That's a Japanese thing. That's a long way from the Roman Empire.
It
but
is,
who knows?
But you know, don't get it twisted. The similarities are you know, it's what it is. We just don't know it. We're not in these clubs. That's why they killed George Carlin.
Right.
He was on stage telling us they will beat you over the head with the club that you're not in.
Right.
Fuck. He knew it, and he tried to tell it, and they murked his ass, and they want to call it a heart attack.
Right.
There's a lot of people that have done that too.
Yep. They've got the heart attack gun.
They've got the red silk necktie from the doorknob.
Yep.
All that stuff. They've got the two suicide gunshots to the back of the head.
Right.
G. Ross, can you pull that up real quick? I don't have a link because I was trying to look up my link that I wanted you to share.
Yep.
But it is too far back. I'm just scrolling and scrolling. Just type in George Carlin government. Like it. Let's do it like that. See what you come up with and see what you can play.
You're talking about when he says there's a big club that you're not in?
Yeah.
I would type in club.
Yeah.
No, we might have some people in the chat that don't know it the way we know it. So fuck it, let's do it. And we're not getting off of point when it comes to the Bible and the way we Bible thump. Everything we've talked about is exactly on point with what the Bible verse is talking about. Maybe a little off topic, but we're hovering. That's the reason why we get fucking censored so hard.
Not too bright, folks.
Look,
not too.
Censorship earlier today. They can't
Right.
justify it. You know what I mean? Like,
George Carlin.
So I found the link. It's 4 minutes long. A lot of people have seen it, I would think.
get the fuck out of it. Please play it. I'm asking you, me myself.
I'll play it. Hang on. Play.
Fucking bright. But if you talk to one of them about this, if you isolate one of them, you sit them down rationally, you talk to them about the low IQs and the dumb behavior and the bad decisions, right away they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education. They say we need more money for education. We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. And you say to them, well, you know, we've tried all of that and the kids still can't pass the test. They say, don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades. And that's what they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the passing grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good, everybody's happy, the IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon all you'll need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Got a pencil? Get the fuck in there, it's physics.
Oh, sorry.
And everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists.
I hit the wrong button. Hang on. I was trying to fix the quality and I pushed the wrong button. All right, here we go.
We do. Education. Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind 3 things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start, left behind. Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
That was so good. All right, Yoda, great call, man. That was great.
How many years ago do you think he did that concert? 10?
Yoda, you're muted. Can you unmute? Oh man, he hung up. When he gets back, I want to mention what the Texan put in the chat. Akavanka with the W file sticker. Oh, I'm going to DM. Gotta check the DM. Oh yeah, for sure.
I guess in responding to the Texan a little bit, my buddy and I were talking about Carlin the other night, and he mentioned that Carlin suffered from pancreatic cancer for a while before he died. I haven't looked into Carlin myself, so I just take his word for it.
It is hard to come back from pancreatic cancer, right?
Yeah.
Black Yoda, you may be muted. And I don't have a button to... There you go.
What the fuck is this now?
You don't have a headset, do you, by chance, Black Yoda? Because you have a lot of echo, by the way.
No, I got air blowing.
No, but everything Duppy or I say comes back as a little chipmunk version off your phone. Texan in the house.
Fan is loud.
He was. He just... Oh, there it is.
That I turned off just for the sake of the show.
No, I know. But everything anyone says comes back from your phone like a little digital chipmunk.
What?
Just so you know. Somehow your connection, it's like echoey from everything.
You know what it sounds like, G. Ross?
What?
Another Star Trek episode, the one where they got sped up in time. Remember?
Oh yeah, the blink of an eye.
Like?
I believe it's called blink of an eye.
I'm curious what my audio sounds like. I mean, I'm still doing audio checks. How do I sound?
You sound fantastic.
Oh, let me.
Cool, man. Yeah, Black Yoda. It's like if you ever call into a show and you're on your phone and you're in your car and the show is playing. That's exactly what it sounds like. You're live on the show, but it, turn down your broadcast there, caller.
Texan, you know I love you, right? God,
that's what my ex-wife said before she fucked the shit out of me. So where are you going with this?
No, I'm not trying to be gay or anything. I fucking love you, bro. And the fact that you love me too, I try to share that with everybody to tell them. You know what I mean? There is no racism and shit. What, Bernie? You threw your cigarette on the floor. And
how dare you, Yoda? So you don't have a headset, Yoda, by chance, that you're willing to?
Earbuds?
No, I do when I'm inside.
Oh, okay.
I like to be outside because I don't smoke inside.
Why do you even have the damn computer out here?
So I thought I was going to use it.
It's not like horrible. It's just a little bit of annoying.
I didn't know it came off like that.
Texan, were you saying it was picking up the audio from his pilled session or something like that?
Yeah, it sounds like an internal digital echo entirely on the chipset. May or may not be fixed by a headset. You never know until you try.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Sorry, Black Yoda, but after everything I have learned after this system that I've had in the month that I've had setting it up, I have come to realize and recognize certain things, and that's what's happening. Black Yoda, when you talk, there's no echo at all. But when anybody else talks, it's like a what G. Ross said. It's like you got the show going on in the background and it's feeding back through your phone.
I got you.
Yep.
I you're saying that's the reason why I need to use headphones. Okay, I got you.
It may help. There's no guarantee because if it's a digital echo entirely on the chipset, it may or may not be impacted. It doesn't sound like it's going through your room. It's not like a speakerphone problem.
Might not know this, but I watched you set up your shit.
You talking about me?
I was there with you, and I was like, "Please, Lord, let them get it right."
Oh my God, man! It's been such an ass whooping. It really has. And yeah, I remember you were in there one night. And yeah, I appreciate it too because I need all the help I can get. G. Ross was a major freaking help, helping me figure certain things out. And this is the first time I've actually joined somebody else's show with this new mixer board and all that. And so I was kind of nervous as how it was going to sound, how it was going to go down. G. Ross, you've been phenomenal helping me out, brother. You know that.
Always happy.
And
although I flaked out the other day and fell asleep or missed a whole day of troubleshooting with you, I forgot.
Dude, I've been driving you nuts with this shit. What are you talking about, man? You've been great. Thanks, man.
Yep.
That should sound 100 for me. Like I turned everything off, literally everything off, other than. Oh wait, I had to use her phone because my phone got too hot.
Right.
It was about to go off.
Yeah, that grinder stuff.
Buddy, you grinding? Tell me the truth.
I don't give a flying fuck.
It's still over there grinding. Oh my God. It's too hot in Arizona to have those kind of jokes.
Hey, Black Yoda, let me ask you a question. Now, on that phone, do you see the mute button? Is there a mute button where you can mute, but when you're ready to talk, you just unmute?
I picked it up before, and you got to shut down background apps that you don't realize that are taking place. And they do this shit on purpose from the phone companies to motivate you to, you know what, this phone is broken. Fuck it. Buy another fucking phone. That's literally what it is.
Basically, all you would have to do is mute when everybody else is talking and unmute when you're ready to talk because you're the only one not getting any feedback or any loop back or slap back on this thing.
Nah, I think it's control over, forcing a person to buy another phone.
Okay.
Well, you can contemplate that before you go to the store, but is it possible that for this show you could mute it until you're ready to talk?
I think it's forcing us to move somewhere else.
I'm on my phone and it's not getting hot.
Anyway, I just thought I'd give my input and my understanding on everything I've learned lately about audio on the internet.
I don't even have it plugged in to charge more. Like, we're freestyling on her phone.
Right.
Her phone is different than mine. But
for sure.
It's solid. All right, so I'm old school when it comes to like tech. I grew up with the rotary telephone.
We all did.
Yeah, I grew up with the fucking pagers and shit, right?
Hey.
As far as I'm concerned, this is a method of them trying to get me out of my I don't even remember what the Samsung fucking 8 or some shit that I have.
When there was a phone connected.
It's a conspiracy, I tell you.
When there was a cord connected to the phone, to the wall, there was more freedom than there is now.
Amen, Bernie.
That's what I actually have. My cell phone met Mr. Hammer. I use the landline.
Did you use Bleach Pit?
Oh, wow.
I used a hammer.
Yeah. So did Killary.
Yep. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, well, it seemed to work.
So since we're
Wait, did he already drop out?
who?
Texan.
No, as a matter of fact, I was going to lead in with Texan. I'm glad you said something in the chat because I was kind of thinking it, and I'm like, wasn't that guy super old? Did they really ice gun that guy, Carlin?
Oh, Carlin was 71 years old, man. I mean, God, he did every drug known to man, you know, LSD and everything, whatever they can come out with, he did, and he was very proud of it. And to live to be 71 years old after the life that he lived, they didn't take him out, man. He just, he deep six. That was it. He was just done, man.
He swam in the Hudson River as a kid.
That he, yeah. I mean, he led a rough life, and plus, being an entertainer, being on the road, that's hard on you anyway. And then all the drugs and stuff, the meth, the speed, the coke, the LSD, and everything. Man, I hope I live to be 71 years old. To be honest with you.
Yep.
You start saying it that way, you're taking away from the fact that this man was live on stage and did not give one fuck. And people that went to a comedy show got exposed to a lot of truth. The same way this the new movie that's came out. They're gonna get exposed to a lot of fucking truth.
Yeah, but just because he was smart and because he was cutting edge doesn't mean they took him out. A lot of people say Betty White at 102 or 103. That a lot of people are saying they took her out too, and I'm like, how fucking long is a person supposed to live, man?
Right.
I mean, damn.
Did you come
They took
across,
out John Lennon.
the Queen's sister? You ever come across those ones?
The Queen's
No, I
sister?
don't know the Queen's sister.
No, Betty White. Queen's sister.
Oh, she might be the Queen's sister? I can see that immediately.
Oh.
Nah.
Yeah, Duppy would know.
Nah.
You guys know
I
my
could
stance.
see, I could see that as she got older, she resembled the Queen.
Yeah. You guys know my stance. Every single conspiracy theory is 100% true.
She really
There
did
you
not look. She really did not look like the Queen when she was, when she was younger.
Actually, she was kind of cute when she was younger. I'll give her that.
Betty White was hot, man. What are you talking about? She was like, what, Miss America or something? No, I'm serious. You can laugh now, but you go back and look at them pictures, you'll be like, damn, she was in a race with Marilyn Monroe, brother.
Another one. I can't. Joan Collins. Joan Collins was god damn it gorgeous when she was younger.
And we get back to Star Trek again, G. Ross.
Oh, nice. City on the Edge of Forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
I told you that a friend of mine when I was really young was the actor who voiced the time portal in that episode.
Nice.
God damn it, she was smoking hot in that episode.
Yep.
Smoking fucking hot. Trying to be all innocent when she wasn't.
Yep.
Oh, fuck me. Shit. Are we off topic? Are we even close to topic?
Well, no, Carlin is on topic because, we're looking at bloodlines. We're in chapter 26. It's all about Abimelech versus Isaac, basically. So I think we're on topic because it's a club. Abimelech's in it. Is Isaac in it? How does that work?
How was Abimelech in it if he's a Philistine?
Well, okay. So who are the good guys in the story? And that's really what gets danced around and causes wars in the Middle East all the time.
I think it's possible Abimelech was in it.
Right.
But, by the time he interacted with Isaac, he was part of a separate tribe or group or something.
Yeah. I mean, I see Babylon, Haran, and Egypt, kind of this triangle around the critical area. And they're all making runs at world power.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Phoenicians are floating around behind the scenes, getting used by the Egyptians, but probably using the Egyptians.
I have a question for Duffy. Duffy,
Yep.
are you
Am I what?
ready?
You kept cutting out. I can't make that out.
Are you ready?
Ready for?
Question.
Yeah.
I've never understood why Christians and Muslims are so different when we basically talk about the same thing. And then you add like fucking, Jewish people to the mix, right? They think they're the chosen ones. And I've already learned they're not the actual chosen Jewish, whatever the fuck they want to think they are, right? So whenever you say anything bad about them, you're fuck. What did they call it?
Anti-Semite.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's not the case. So my question to you is, I know you're a Christian in heart.
Okay.
How does your heart, and I can't ask you to your brain, I gotta ask you to your heart. How does your heart feel about what I feel about when it comes to my heart in this world of fucking pollution? Because that's how I see it. It's pollution, bro. You have a lot of people that don't take the time to look at fuck one. So I consider their opinions pollution. That's a fair question. And you're solid enough for me to ask that motherfucker.
Well, I look at it from the standpoint that yes, there is a God, but it's a personal relationship rather than what anyone else tells you. That's how I look at it.
I want you to elaborate.
I don't know if there's a lot more to elaborate other than I don't trust what somebody wrote down 1,000 years ago to
True.
be.
Because I know for a fact that you feel the same way I do. And I will trust my eyes in this lifetime and I will read the book.
Can God raise a man from the dead?
Go ahead.
No, that's my question. I love what you're asking, Black Yoda, and Duppy. I'm really respectful that you're answering him. Now I'm going to jump in and squish in the middle. Can God raise a man from the dead?
Jesus did with Lazarus.
Right. But Duppy's point is, it's a dusty old book. It's propaganda.
No. I don't think he was coming off like that. I think he was literally on our side when it came to that.
Well, it's somebody's interpretation.
Whose? You can't create
whoever wrote it down at the time.
Big Bang Theory.
All right.
Big Bang Theory. Where did the particles come from? You have to have a God outside of time and space and shit to even fucking collide that shit together.
What the hell happened to the Bible thump?
Oh, wow.
I thought we were thumping.
She got done using the bathroom, people. Oh, my God. Will you please sit down and stay in your space? Please.
Get in, eat your bugs.
Well, do you want to hear my best sort of scientific explanation along these lines that I've told a few people? I mean, and I'm not saying that you should believe what I believe, but you guys know how there's these theories of multiverses and stuff, right?
Right.
That there are other universes, and supposedly it's possible that each one of those universes could have its own laws of physics.
Fuck that. No. I'm not. No.
I'm just.
So
I-
Lee Smolin, Duppy, Lee Smolin put the nail in that coffin. I'm gonna hide behind Lee.
You guys didn't let me finish.
All right.
I can go as far as with you as different multiverses because Mandela effect.
Just let me finish, and I think you'll at least look at it differently. So whether those multiverses exist or not doesn't really matter, but the concept of these multiverses having different physical laws is kind of relevant to contemplate, because in this universe we have physical laws, but there are also probably 20 to 30 different fundamental constants, like pi or.
Let me ask you two questions, right? God gave the Lucifer God over this world, right? But the same God that made us is still in control. So in that mindset, how in the fuck did the Mandela effect happen? Because I remember what I remember.
Can I finish?
Ooh.
All right. Almost to the end. So with all these different physical constants like pi, E, the weight of an atom or a quark or something, all these things that have what physicists would think are immutable properties. Every time you measure a proton, it's going to weigh the same. If any one of those physical constants, and there's many, was changed or out of whack, the whole universe wouldn't work.
Where do you get that from?
It wouldn't.
No, you shut up.
Things would go flying off into the deepest recesses of space. All matter would fall apart. Everything is in a balance.
No, spaces between here and there. Everything else is goddamn fucking angels and shit.
No, I'm sorry to interject, but I actually agree with Duppy on that. And astrophysicists and very many, there were atheist scientists and Christian scientists have come to the conclusion that even with Einstein, that there is a creator, and that this was set in a certain balance in a way that if it was just even a millisecond or so off,
right, you get it.
It would not exist. It could not. There's no possible way it could exist today. So that proves that there is a creator.
And did all of those things just happen by chance? The odds are probably pretty low.
Oh my God, the odds
yeah,
are off the chart.
With my side and his side. So which side is yours?
You know what I love about this is I'm stuck on, if I go down to a 6-mile lake and I use a telescope, I should not be able to from shore to shore see the other side, but I can. So all these constants that the scientists feed me, and I used to teach to the little students when I was a grad student, I can't until someone explains to me why I can't see the curve. I can't be doing this.
You know what's funny to me? And there's no
You believe in flat Earth?
I can't see a curve when I go down to the lake.
What's funny to me is they try to raise all this racial tension and shit.
Yep.
Right? Black people are starting to realize that we were already here first in America. The Africans that they brought over here, they weren't us.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Because they weren't us. Fuck, look at it right now. They don't look like us. They don't fucking sound like really.
Who?
The Africans. They don't look like us.
How do they not look like us?
Right. So the fuck what? And the people that were already here, that built all this shit, we were already here.
Are you talking about the Olmec heads and stuff, Yoda?
I'm talking about something.
No, like Grand Central Station and stuff like that.
What?
Like
Hey,
the old big old ornate buildings that I don't know how you could build them today.
Oh, don't go Tartaria on me.
I'm almost. I'm Tartaria adjacent.
Same time that they say these buildings were being built, there was wars taking place. They needed people to fight these wars, but then all of a sudden, you still got people, according to your timeline, building these goddamn buildings. Fuck that, they were already here.
Well, I would like to take a second and rewind. And Black Yoda brought up something earlier, asking Duppy. Duppy and I used to get I don't know, well over a year ago into some hellacious.
That was Discord days.
Yeah, those were the days. But anyway, I'm not on Discord that much anymore. I can care less about it. But anyway, so but no, Black Yoda, you brought something up, and this is something that has been a stickler between Duppy and I for a long time. So, Duppy, I get it. You don't believe in a book that you say was written by man over 2,000 years ago, and you take issue with that, correct?
No.
No.
There's something to the book. What I struggle with is literal interpretation of the book, especially with all the stuff I've studied that shows how many times these books have gone through different languages and translation errors and different concepts. For example, the firmament is an interesting one.
Well, sure. I mean, without getting, this is just a blanket kind of question or a blanket kind of statement. It to me, it's like this. So a book that was written over 2,000 years ago that I believe to be 100% truth, and you don't, that's fine.
I didn't say that either.
Oh, okay. I said I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth.
I said that the orthodox interpretation of what's been written is what I struggle with.
Find me a better book.
Hang on, Black Yoda. I'm going somewhere with this. Hang on. So okay. I mean, well, you just said, but in the same breath, that there's issues with the book.
Not the book itself.
With the writings in the book. I mean, okay, then what are the issues with it then? Because
how people interpret the concepts in it.
Well, how do people interpret the Constitution of the United States that was written by men less than 250 years ago?
Well, that's why we have courts. They still debate it, don't they?
Yes. That is true. We do have courts. That is correct. But at the same time, so the First Amendment and the Second Amendment that were written by men under divine guidance of God, I believe they even believed it, and they even wrote it in their writings and stuff. So you take the Constitution of the United States, and then you can interpret it any way you want to fit your narrative, but yet there's going to be consequences for it when you don't apply it in the way that it was written.
Yoda, it's hard to know when you're talking because everything we say comes from your phone also. So sometimes nobody knows you're saying something.
No. Shut up. I'll shut up.
So are you guys actually curious about how I think? Or is this kind of a grilling?
It's turning into a 3-on-1.
No, actually, I'm asking you a direct question about how you think, because I've had this conversation before, and I got kicked off shows, banned from shows, and all kinds of stuff. And I won't mention no names, but I pissed a lot of people off with that simple question right there. So if a document written by man, less than 250 years ago, almost 250 years ago, and a document written by man over 2,000 years ago under the divine guidance of God, which both documents were, how can you believe in one and not the other? And that's my question.
May I participate with this part of the conversation? Because you just said it all. I swear to God, you said it all. Duppy, we love you, bro.
Do you want to kick me off the show?
Oh man,
not in the least, because I love your participation. What I don't, you shut up. You shut up. What I don't understand is how do you not get the God spark? It's in you. It's in your heart chakra.
I think he actually does, Black Yoda. He kind of said it earlier.
Yeah.
Just doesn't understand how it works. Like it's there. What we talk about is the fact that they don't have it.
Well, how about if I ask this question? If I didn't believe that there were truths in the Bible, why would I be spending so much time digging into it?
Good point.
You know, that is a good point. But let me say this: see, Rush Limbaugh, his little brother, was an atheist and did not like the Bible and set out to disprove the Bible. But the more he dug into it, the more the Bible proved to himself to be right and correct. And now he is a Christian, and Rush Limbaugh's little brother goes out speaking about, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and the witnesses and all that stuff. So, there's so many atheists that were way smarter than me, I guess you'd say, set out to prove the Bible wrong, and then ended up turn healing and going, wait a minute, maybe I was wrong.
May I interject again? Yes. The Bible, church, religion, especially religion, right? It's not meant to be a thing, to do a thing, follow a thing. Follow your heart chakra. Disconnect from whatever the fuck you want to and follow your heart and keep that shit 100. That's what Jesus did. He followed his heart.
He did follow his heart. His heart was perfect.
That's what it's all about, or at least from my point of view.
We just got to make sure our heart is not leading us wrong.
But see, I take that as a sellout answer.
Right.
No, wait. What?
What happened to G. Ross?
I'm here. Hi, Bernie.
No, we're having a conversation. Why would you say that's a sellout answer?
Because it's just like I compared the Constitution to the Holy Bible. I mean, look, you can just say, okay, and interpret the Constitution how you want to, all the amendments of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Okay. And then there's, you can take it one way or another when it's very clear in what it says and what the men that wrote it meant. But it's a sellout position just to say, go with your heart. And okay, well, I'm anti Second Amendment because militia is not supposed to exist. Or wait a minute, or you're only allowed to own muskets and stuff and not AR-15s. That's a sellout position.
No, you need to stop. Let me explain. You be quiet, please. Right? That was not a sellout answer.
I'm stirring the pot tonight. I don't know.
I love it.
No, that was simply, fuck it. This is my roots. You put the roots in, right? Everything you just said, it applies to what I was just trying to say. I don't need the state. I don't need another person, anybody, to be like, fucking, that's how you look at God. I swear to God, we are talking about the same point of view.
Pretty close, yeah.
I'm not
close,
with you, bro.
Well then, please.
No, you be quiet.
Open your mouth. I'm done with you.
I mean, G. Ross, let me ask your opinion. Am I making sense in the comparison, or am I just talking out my rear end?
Well, yes. I haven't come to the conclusion, mostly because I haven't looked at it. I don't walk around knowing that the Constitution was inspired.
The whole reason why we have a constitution is because you'll be quiet.
Here we go.
Why we have a constitution is because we were fighting the English and they wanted what they wanted and they tried to set it up. And they still sold us out.
You said you were shutting up.
But if the Constitution is inspired, then the Texan, your argument is super ironclad. I just never thought about it that much. I mean, I've heard like Glenn Beck mention it and stuff like that, but I haven't really gone down that road. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it makes sense. But a lot of people don't put it in context and reality that our United States Constitution, our United States Constitution was from Judeo-Christian values, which derives from the Bible. That's how we get our laws today.
Right. No, that part I'd cotton with that. Yeah, for sure.
All right, since we having this conversation.
And you're on
Wait, no. Since we having this conversation, and I don't want any hatred.
And Texan, I have absolutely no problem with the spiritual nature of the writings. What I'm curious about is the framework of history that stuff is laid upon.
I'm like Beetlejuice. I just showed up. Sorry.
And what we can learn from it.
Up there with that. It was up there with that.
Oops. Shit. I just screwed up.
Out here.
Stop it out, bitch. The fuck?
Are you using it?
No, because I don't want to. That's why I don't bring it out here. Oh my God, you really are changing the course of this conversation.
Okay, I got my visuals set back. Sorry, Duppy, I hit a button. Everything went wacky. And anyway, if you don't mind, please reiterate that fact again.
Hold on, let's back up. Wait, let's back up. Demons really are fucking with this conversation. I got her laptop out here, which is something I never do. They shut that fucker down. I always use my phone to podcast. They shut that fucker down. I'm on my roommate's cell phone to talk to you guys.
It's the CIA, brother. They're after your ass.
Wait, all I'm saying is a lot of your physical, electrical connections, it's not you or how you set it up. They're fucking with us. They know they're fucking with us. It's the reason why they put us in the corner pocket. Fuck it. Get them off of YouTube, put them in the corner pocket, but pay attention to who they are and what they're talking about. It's that simple. What's not hard to understand about that? Fuck it, I'm done. I don't. Nothing else.
Do you still want me to restate what I said, Haas?
Yeah, man.
All right. So the last thing I said was that I really don't have any issue at all with the spiritual teachings in the book. What I'm curious about is the historical framework that those teachings are laid upon and what we can learn from it.
Okay, so let's take the historical side there for a second, and the evidence and the proof that's there about the Bible is true in the stories that are there. I mean, you know, from the Sphinx to the pyramids to all the great architectural feats that they did back in the day. Look, man, there's hidden knowledge that's been hidden from us, and that's pretty obvious. But it's like, okay, Moses, the story of Moses and how he grew up, right? And then his name was wiped off of all the great monuments that he helped build. And there's proof of that they've chiseled his name off of everything, but Ramsey still exists.
Motherfucker, you can't see it.
Yoda, it's really hard to know when you're talking, just so you know. I think if you got a headset, it'd be super easy to know.
Or a mute button.
I need the mute button, bro.
Well, it's just because every time anyone talks, we hear your phone echoing back. What happens is when you start talking, it's really hard to know you're talking. And you're kind of quiet also.
Let me say this before you mute me. Let me
I'm not muting you.
No, let me say this, right? In Arizona, 90% of the Grand Canyon you can't see. Our government ruled it out a long time ago. You can't go look at this shit. You can't walk. You can't fucking cliff dive. You can't do fuck one. Because there's Egyptian shit over there. Why? Is my question.
It's a good
I'll
question.
shut the fuck up. But my question is, why in the fuck do you know Egyptian shit is there, but you don't want the rest of the public to fucking know about it?
And now mute yourself.
Okay, well, you asked a question there about 90% of the Grand Canyon you cannot see, which you can see 100% of the Grand Canyon from helicopter, airplane, drones, and all that. But there are certain restrictions on hiking and going down the river. Yes, there are. But as far as seeing the Grand Canyon, well, maybe I'm just splitting hairs here on what you just said.
They got rafting companies. Many people raft that river every year.
Right.
So you can see the whole river up close.
Right. But there are certain parts of it that are blocked off that you can't go to. I forgot who that.
Are they perhaps blocked off because they're too far away from emergency services or too remote from them? Or are there hazards there like falling rocks and stuff that they just don't want people going in there because it's dangerous?
No, it's nothing like that. There's actual caves and stuff that were explored back in the like 1901, 1890, 1910, stuff like that they will not allow you to explore anymore because there were artifacts taken out. It's been documented those artifacts were taken out, and supposedly the Smithsonian has them. And I mean, there were newspaper articles with photographs. And I can't remember this explorer's name that found all that. Shortly thereafter, when the Smithsonian was established, they took all those artifacts and wiped it away. It's got nothing. It's got nothing to do with safety or anything. I mean, I'll find it. I'll do a whole damn show on that.
Nice.
They found all kinds of stuff in there. It's just like, man, if you go back and you do a little bit of research there, you can see like at the turn of the century, right there where I talked about 1880s, 1890 to about 1920s and 30s before World War One. There's news articles all over this country, from New York to California to Texas, actual photos and stuff of giants that they unearthed. Okay. And these bones and stuff and these ancient ancestors that were here, it's fact, it's proof, you can find it, but you can't go physically see it anymore because they say it doesn't exist when it did.
Nice.
It's not hard to find. Google is one hell of an amazing piece of work sometimes.
Well, I haven't gone down those paths. I've heard those stories, but I didn't really need any of that for what I've been trying to do.
Right. No, your efforts, have been very middle of the road, which is good.
throughout archaeological history here in the United States, and especially about the past. Oh wait.
Did his phone cool off?
Oh, it froze. Oh, but the audio's still echoing.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, it's just still.
I made it smaller than what it's supposed to fit, and now I'm irritated. Dude, I got the.
There has been a cover up of information.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Haas, that I've run across. Good grief.
It's worse now. You know, it might be room echo. Do you have that thing against a table now, Yoda?
I don't even have anything on. That's not me. Whatever the fuck y'all listening to.
Are you using the speakerphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's echoing bad.
Yeah, it's bad enough now that it's hard.
Yeah, it's like
hard
4
to hear
times
yourself
worse than
talk.
earlier.
Close the damn laptop. That's probably
No, the laptop was already closed.
It's bad enough. It's called flatback.
Yeah, exactly.
Love
Sounds
you.
like a
Love you guys.
Matchbox 20 from Ringo Starr level slapback.
Love you guys. I will try to do this again next week. And it's unfortunate that we can't have this conversation because the
Do you have a
devil is
headset? Do you have earbuds?
the part that I wanted to talk about.
Earbuds.
Swear to God, that's the part that I want to talk about.
Earbuds.
Fix your shit.
Old school.
I don't know who said that, but you know what? I will.
Thank you, brother.
All right,
Yo.
Hoss.
Night, Yoda.
Love you.
Shit, that was bad.
That was
the last
I couldn't even
connection
hear
was
myself
louder.
talk.
Yeah.
So Haas, there's some stuff that I've run across, and I've actually presented it before, that kind of supports the whole Egyptians made it to America thing. And that is the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were very closely allied, and that might even be too light a word. They may have actually been part of the Egyptian civilization. So they were very close. The Egyptians certainly used them for a lot of seafaring tasks. And I've come across some indication there's a good chance that they made it to America, the Phoenicians did, in maybe as far back as 1000 BC. But artifacts of that possibility are extremely hard to come by, other than rumored ones. But there was a guy in 2015 that proved that Phoenician ships could make it to the New World. So there's that.
Well, you know, this is just what I think. I can't prove it, but I got a lot of facts to back it up. Okay. I believe that before the Great Flood, whether you believe in it or not, before the Great Flood, there was technology that surpasses what we had today, what we have today, and that there was a way to communicate around this globe, whether you believe in flat Earth or not, around this globe. And that's why there's a lot of structures that resemble what's in Egypt, and all the way to the Aztecs, and Tesla is where I'm kind of drawing this from, with the energy of the earth. And when Tesla went and visited the pyramids, just let me put it this way. Einstein was once asked, what is it like to be the smartest man in the world? Einstein quickly responded and said, you would have to ask Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Tesla had an understanding of these properties. Okay. And they have squashed Tesla and his findings and his understanding and knowledge. But it that is an ancient thing. I mean, how can you have pyramids in South America that resemble the pyramids, in Egypt? How can the Great Pyramid of Giza be placed at exactly a certain point on the planet that it was just amazing? And not only that, lines up with the stars. And if you back up the planetary system, astrological system, 6,000 years, which they can easily do, astronomers can, it
Yeah.
lines up perfectly with I mean,
Yeah.
this knowledge is out of this world, and we've been denied this knowledge.
Yeah. I've studied this stuff more for fun than having anything to do with my research. And there definitely is something to that. There's even, as a geologist person, I can say that Robert Schoch's study of the Sphinx enclosure, you know about that one, right? Where he thinks the
Yeah.
whole complex there dates back very far because of the weathering. But I've also seen another investigation of how much of the actual pyramids weathered since they were built, and it comes up with that rough calculation comes up with a number very similar to Schoch's number, that this stuff dates back damn near the end of the ice age.
10,000 years, I believe it was what
Yeah.
they said.
Yeah. Constellation Leo, right?
But the honest ones say they cannot date it back further. They just know it's at least as old as 10,000 years.
Yeah.
But
All right,
the Sphinx is something different, though.
How is it different than that? Do you think it's older than that?
They say that, and looking at the now geological and archaeological evidence, if you look at the Sphinx, it has weathered way more than the pyramids have. And
but it's also not built from the same rock. The
okay,
Sphinx was built from the rock that's literally right there, whereas the pyramids, they brought in rock from a good distance away.
yeah, but also if you okay, now these people did not make mistakes. If they made mistakes, they covered them up, right? Or they left them in the quarry or whatever. They didn't make grave mistakes when they were building these monuments
No,
and
in
stuff.
fact, that some people say that the accuracy of the stuff they built is beyond what we could do now.
That's what they say, right?
At those big scales.
Exactly. A knowledge beyond what we have today, a technology beyond what we have today. Now, if you take a good look at the Sphinx, okay, and not only the weathering on it, you take a look at the head of the Sphinx. G. Ross, man, if you could find this, would be freaking awesome, because the Sphinx has the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh, right? But the head does not fit.
It's not proportional, right?
It's not proportional, right? So it was a lion previous to that.
Probably.
And that would fit the rest of the body. They didn't make these stupid little mistakes like that. So
I'm in agreement with you on all this stuff, but I'll let you in on a little secret that I've maybe told 2 people so far.
Ooh.
Are you interested?
Very.
Sure, but I do want to finish my thought.
No, but it's related to this.
Okay, but
Absolutely
let me finish my thought.
Okay.
It's indicative that of basically the hypothesis that the Egyptians arrived on the scene way later, before the Sphinx was built. Now, the pyramids, don't know. Sphinx, absolutely, man. And that the pharaohs, of course, they were so full of themselves, they carved the lion's head down to fit a pharaoh's head. That's why the head does not fit the body of the lion to this very day.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with any of that. And I've looked at it myself and go, man, that's really interesting. Now, I used to think, and I still kind of think, all of this stuff that goes back that far is beyond the scope of the research that I'm doing. So I just kind of considered it for fun. But in the last month or so, I've run into something. that kind of gets me thinking that that whole concept of, a pre-high-tech civilization might actually tie into my work. And here's how.
Ooh.
Well, you kind of know some of this, G. Ross, already.
Okay.
There's an area of the world in southeast Turkey, modern day Syria, that in all my research appears to be really, really, really important.
Ooh, I do know this.
Yeah. It's probably where Abraham came from, at least according to what I've dug into. It's also where Ralph Ellis's version of Jesus is from, the actual kingdom. And that region is Haran, the biblical Haran. And it's a really strange history to that city because over all the millennia, that city was taken over many times by different civilizations. Like the Assyrians controlled it at one point. The Mari civilization controlled it at one point. The Hurrians controlled it at one point. I could go on. Persians, Egyptians probably at some point.
Persians are who today?
Well, the Persians were like Cyrus the Great, Darius.
But who are they today?
Oh, oh God, that's a complicated question.
Iran.
Well, they are, but the nobility of those Persians is a different story. But yeah, they're Iran. But you like this part. The Iranians originally came from the north, and they were called Aryans.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so this area of Haran was always a very revered temple complex. In particular, the Mesopotamian moon god Sin was worshipped there. And all these civilizations that controlled it over the millennia left it alone. Even though they controlled the area, they never did anything to that city. Meanwhile, they're sacking and pillaging all the surrounding cities many, many, many times, and they left that city alone. So something about that area is really important. And here's the kicker. What else is in that area? Very, very close. Göbekli Tepe and Mount Ararat. Very, very close. So there's something about that area that is extremely important in world history. And it's the same place where we have indication of a damn near Ice Age civilization. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, Göbekli Tepe. That's a trip right there. I forgot his name. That he was like the lead dude, man, into this thing. He's been on Joe Rogan and all this. They've only discovered like 10% of it that they've started to uncover.
Well, and they've also discovered about 20 more of them. There's so much archaeology that needs to be done there. And and I forgot. There's one more link to it. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos, but on the Göbekli Tepe pillars, there's a mysterious symbol that looks like an H. It's not the letter H, but it's believed to be a symbol.
Like maybe a table or an altar.
Well, it's being debated, but also that H symbol has been found in some of those crazy ancient cities like in Peru and stuff. Sacsayhuaman, I think is the name of it.
And see what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt, but see what you're saying there is even in the rainforest in Brazil and in South America and all that, they're finding these exact same cities and type of archaeological discoveries that are it's like it was the same civilization that built these things, man. And that's what I'm saying. And that goes back to like the book of Enoch, and Enoch and his, wisdom and his understanding of technology that they had. I firmly believe that, okay, now when the pyramids were built, was pre-flood, after flood, I don't know. But the Sphinx, I believe, was pre-flood. And I believe that is where the water damage came from. I mean, and then there's even subterranean rooms and channels and everything underneath the Sphinx. Okay, that have that has slowly leaked out. That people had to sneak down there, and the government's hiding. Their government, for whatever
Yeah,
reason,
that
is hiding
Zahi,
that from us.
that
Yeah,
Zahi
that
Hawass
dude.
clown.
Did I get the right picture, Deppy?
I was gonna pull up a picture of my own for the next thing I was gonna say. Yeah, that's
it
that's
looks
it.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a perhaps an ancient link, but there's another one. Let me find my picture that actually links that H symbol to much closer to our time. And nobody knows what this particular one means. What the hell did I call that thing?
Would Jitsi let you share one of your tabs?
I think so. I just
Cool.
have to find the picture. So many pictures.
The Texan, I'm not sure if you and I have talked about this. When you say there's a lot of technology 6, 8, 10,000 years ago that we just don't
There
even
it is.
fathom.
Yeah.
I'm right with that. One of the things I use is when Jacob is doing animal husbandry like nobody's business. He's got techniques and knowledge that is unmatched.
Yeah. I mean, it's
All right, I'm going to share.
pretty much documented fact.
Mm-hmm. But they always we do these plays in Sunday school where we're just like, it's all dusty in robes, H.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
I can see it.
Okay, so this is
It's a fresco of a picture.
it's a mosaic that was uncovered in Israel that dates back to like the 2nd or 3rd century AD. And when the archaeologists uncovered this, they were contracted with National Geographic, and they interpreted this fella here. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yep.
They said that this was Alexander the Great meeting the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem, because he did do that. But it actually turns out that this is a scene from the Talmud that shows the event that kicked off the Jewish revolt against the Romans. Regardless of that, I'll tell you the full story if you want. But regardless of that, no one who has looked at this knows what the H on the priest's robes means at all. You could say, oh, maybe it means Hebrew. Well, that word didn't exist back then. Certainly not in a Roman alphabet, right?
Right.
They spoke Greek or used the Greek language or Aramaic at that point in time. So nobody knows what this H is. So I'm wondering if there's a link across, 7,000-8,000 years of this symbol to Göbekli Tepe. Now, I know it's a stretch, but some people think that the H is actually a stylized version of Orion, the hunter. Like this is his bow, his arm, and this is his body, something like that. I don't know, but that's as good an explanation as anything. And obviously, if somebody worshipped Orion, or maybe Osiris, who is associated with Orion, that could go back a long, long, long way. It's star worship or something.
It's I think you have to look at it as maybe door lintel blood as well, painted vertically and horizontal. It's not exactly a door shape.
Why isn't it red?
Right. Fair point. Fair point.
I got a few things as I look at this. So the army, the way I'm looking at it, the army to the right with the bull, which would be a symbolism of,
You want me to save you the speculation effort and tell you the Talmud story?
Well, hang on a second. So the bull represents the demon. What's his name?
Moloch.
Moloch. Thank you very much. And then you're looking at an army with bronze shields and spears, and then to the left, not so much.
It's a bunch of artsy fartsy boys.
Yeah, artsy fartsy.
Well, they're supposed to be priests.
Okay,
Yeah.
but one thing that really captures my attention about this are the oil lamps down at the bottom, the 5 oil lamps. What does that represent?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of interesting. That was put in there for a reason.
Well, it could be that this scene was supposed to take place in or near the temple, and maybe the oil lamps are indicative of that.
Assuming they're oil lamps, they look like it.
But another weird thing is, if they're in the temple, why is the ground they're standing on really uneven?
Right.
So I don't know.
I guess fighting a battle on uneven ground. I don't know, but
the ground to the left is uneven, but it straightens out to the right.
Well, this is not a battle. This is a meeting.
I would disagree with that. I would have to disagree with that, because if you look, there's someone on the H side drawing their sword like they're getting ready for battle. Another one looking at. Ooh, I wonder if this has to do with Jesus. When Jesus was taken,
Peter chopping.
Peter drawing that sword and against the Romans.
You're getting warmer. You want to hear the story from the
Sure,
Talmud?
go ahead.
Okay, so the Talmud's story is that Emperor Nero gifted a calf or cow to the priests in Jerusalem to sacrifice as a gesture of goodwill or something like that. Now, you know that the Jewish priests are very particular about the animals that they sacrifice. So this fella in the middle, right here, that they say is Alexander the Great, but probably isn't, in the story, he put a blemish on the cow and then gave it to the priests. The priests rejected it, pissed off Nero, and that's what started the revolt.
Okay, but you say this is not a battle scene, and this is definitely where I disagree with that, because where your cursor is right there, if you go up out of his groin and you go to what I would say was a Roman soldier with his right arm cusp, across his chest, and if you look, the left hand of the gray-haired man with the H is gouging him with a sword or a knife or something. He is literally, and he's reacting to it. And then there's a drawing of the sword over here on the top left, and then the fingers raised in the air, and then if you know anything about battle or even a street fight, a fist fight, man, these guys on the right, they're leaning forward and they're ready to fight. And
yeah, but why would those outnumbered guys in pajamas want to take on that army?
Maybe that's a $10,000 question. I don't know, but it looks like a battle scene about to happen to me. There's something being said in this for sure.
Well, in the Torah, it's not a battle scene.
Even the Talmud.
Talmud. And you can see the blemish that this guy put on the calf right there. Look at his lip.
Yep.
And that's what pissed off these guys, and they rejected the offering from Emperor Nero for the sacrifice. So, I guess I have to give away the ghost on this one. The name of the fella in the Talmud was something like Jesus of Gamala. And remember, the archaeologists and National Geographic are insisting that this guy was Alexander the Great. So, first off, Alexander the Great was never known to have worn a beard. Every image you see of him, he's clean shaven because that's how the Greeks were. Also, what is this thing right
It's the
here?
frontals.
See this piece of hair right here?
Yeah, that's that Jewish thing.
Yep, it's called a payat, the curly side lock of hair, right? But it doesn't look curly here, but it's like a side lock of hair. So anyway, Ralph Ellis thinks that this actually is Jesus, and he may have started the Jewish revolt. And this is Jesus's army because he had an army, according to Ellis.
That's interesting because, okay, you're talking about Jesus, and colors back then had a, major significance in what your social standing was, and if you look at who you're calling Jesus there, with the bronze and the sword in his side, which kind of makes sense. The cape or the robe that he's wearing is of purple, and purple wasn't royalty.
You caught that. I was going to save that one. Yeah. Ellis's theory, and I think it's very, very interesting, is that when this was supposed to have happened, Rome did not have an emperor. It was called the year of 4 or 5 emperors. I can't remember. It's 4 or 5. So Rome, a bunch of Roman generals were fighting it out for the throne.
But still, to me, to the right, a well-maintained, army like the Romans had looks to me like that would be on the right side there, with their bronze, weapons and their spears and their helmets and everything. I mean, if you go and look, that's what the Romans actually look like, and they used elephants, and they used animals.
They weren't the only army in the area at that time.
Yeah, true, but they actually do look like Romans. I mean, they look like centurions.
Well, there is one difference that Ellis has pointed out, and I didn't know this, and I can't really vouch for it, but it kind of makes sense. What is Jesus wearing on his feet? Socks.
But so's the other guys.
Like socks. These guys are.
We don't see the soldier's feet.
Romans didn't wear socks. They only wore sandals.
Yeah, but they're all wearing the same kind of footwear.
Yeah, and the point is, there's probably no actual Romans in this image.
You can't see the feet of those soldiers on the back.
Right. But anyway, Ellis's interpretation is that this is Jesus's army from the kingdom of Edessa, because Jesus was a real king of a kingdom which was very, very close to Haran. Another indication of how important Haran was in that area throughout history.
This is it's on a computer. It's kind of pixeled a little bit, and trust me, I got great freaking high definition
Well, it's a
computer
it's a
hang,
mosaic.
hang on a second. But yeah, it's a picture of a mosaic. True. I would like to see this actually in real life, because there's something that's piqued my curiosity that I only see on the right side. Okay, which I would say are Romans, are those emblems there on the sides of what look like elephants, and there's two of them, and each one has a certain emblem there that we can't make out in this picture
You mean on their collars?
on
the
their
shield.
shields.
Yep.
Oh, on the shields.
I would love to know what those emblems really are.
I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows at this point.
That'd be very interesting. They weren't put there for no reason.
Perhaps, but we think of emblems on shields being like coat of arms kind of things, and those really didn't come into being until the Middle Ages. So this was much earlier than that, and we don't know if they had identifying insignias on their shields back that far. They may have. We just don't know.
Everybody had emblems back then. I mean, everybody. I mean, that's what that whole society was about, was emblems. And whatever those two emblems are on those shields, on those animals, they're obviously animals, whatever they are. I don't know, because they're not actually large enough to be elephants in comparison with the human beings, but they're animals.
They're little baby elephants.
I would love to know what those emblems are, because I think that might.
I don't know. I do know that they used elephants in the armies back then.
Yeah.
Of course, Hannibal did.
But what I'm saying is, if you look at it in perspective, the bull is way huge bigger than what we think we're looking at as elephants. And even where the tusks are coming out doesn't make sense, because the elephant's tusk does not come out of his bottom jaw.
Yeah, I get the impression that the artist was not terribly conscious of scale in this.
I don't know, man. They didn't make those kind of mistakes back then, dude.
These guys
this is an expensive
these guys are
mosaic.
supposed to be priests, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, this guy looks like, compared to the size of this guy looks like he's 7 or 8 years old.
A kid, right? Yeah.
They're clearly taking liberties, but it's very stylized, which means it's very intentional.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
If you look at the bull, he looks almost like a Bugs Bunny Saturday morning cartoon bull. He's got a goofy little grin.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he's about to get sacrificed, and he's smiling, right?
He's probably taking that same drug that Isaac was taking when he was going to get sacrificed.
Of course, I say it's Moloch, and I say just my interpretation of it. It's art, so it's open to interpretation. So I would say that on the right side there, with the bronze and the spears and the helmets and the shields and everything, those were Romans, and I believe that would be Moloch represented as the bull. What those two damn little animals are there that look like elephants but are not, I don't know. To the left, I mean, and I'm only assuming that on the bottom left corner where it's blacked out, or I guess that's where the mosaic was broken away.
Right. Yeah.
That's where the rest of the Da Vinci Code is.
You can see there's an edge right there where it kind of grades down into the black.
So that's where the answer lays, is in that part that doesn't exist. Yeah.
Tom Hanks has got it in somewhere in a museum
Right.
under. Yeah.
That's interesting, man.
Well, there's another big problem with this being representative of the Talmud story, because if this is the event that started the Jewish revolt, that happened in like AD 68.
Right.
The Jesus as we know it in the Orthodox interpretation of the Bible died 30 years before that.
Sure.
Right?
You talk about the Orthodox interpretation, and I'll just open a can of worms. It reads pretty straightforward. I don't think I need a whole big giant Roman Church to tell me how to read. Like they killed him when he was 33.
Well, Ellis's take is that they kind of intentionally tried to obscure some of the details of the story by putting things like Pontius Pilate in the narrative. And, historically, Pontius Pilate did live back in the AD 30s rather than what this would portray as Jesus's time, which would be later than that.
Right, but if you're Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and then later on John, who wrote his stuff, like 20 years later, maybe 30, why would they not mention, oh, he came back from the dead, and got an army together? Like it's just left out.
Well, Ellis's interpretation is that Jesus actually lived into a later period than the Orthodox interpretation says.
But that's his take.
Well, you're saying the Orthodox interpretation. I'm just saying the plain reading of the surviving text.
Well, but the text doesn't say 33 AD. People have
but it says he was about 30 something. Yeah, but okay. But Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John don't mention him coming back and starting the revolution.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Something just hit me.
So you don't have to you don't need giant tall buildings with priests telling you how to read it to say they left this part out.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ellis's interpretation is contingent on the Talmud story. And that the person that they name as Jesus of Gamala,
right?
Or they use there's like 4 or 5 different Jesuses in the Talmud. Ellis thinks they're all actually the same person, but they're kind of obscuring that they're the same person. So they call him a different thing,
right,
in different sections. And if the way that the Talmud story reads, this is an event that occurred right before the Jewish revolt, which would have been like AD 68.
No, I get you. So now we have to look
at
at
that would move Jesus's history forward in time.
Well, so what? Right. So what then becomes the question is you get a hold of. I would model it as a bunch of people writing a bunch of stuff. It's not so much the writers, it's the publishers and collectors and editors, right? The classic question of who got to say what goes collected into which libraries.
Yeah.
And you get into the councils and the whatnots. The Talmudic writings are off to one side, right? Like the Roman Church would be there. That's like anathema to them. They don't like that stuff.
Right.
So it was like a propaganda war, I guess what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying which one's right. I just find it extremely interesting. That's what I like about this history stuff. There's really interesting history in the Bible, and it's not myth.
But the classic argument
is
it's
a matter of how
accurate
is it really?
So let me go to the knee-jerk classic argument because this is a smokescreen Jesus. Those are all fake Jesuses. Those aren't the real one, right? That's what I'm supposed to say. And then you can't. How can you disprove that to a religious zealot?
May I interject,
please?
Okay. So while you guys were talking, and after our conversation, I'm taking a look at this, a deep look at it. Okay, I do believe that those are Roman soldiers. I mean, they're wearing the regalia and everything, from the helmet to the armbands and all that.
Do you know that Parthian soldiers did not wear that stuff?
Hang on a second. So we're talking about the little boy that came up here on the left underneath his armpit there.
Igor.
How do you know that? Yeah, how do you know that's not David? And okay. And then there's that may be portraying Moses going up against the Roman army. And I know it kind of doesn't make sense, but at the same time, you look, there's three fingers pointing up to God or to the heavens, we'll say,
Right.
or to God. And that looks like Moses to me standing against the Roman army, which I know is the Egyptians, but the Romans were involved in this too. And that the portrayal of Moloch is that bull there. Those are definitely flipping Roman soldiers. And down there, those five lamps. Oh my gosh, man, I'm so scatterbrained right now thinking about I think this is a conglomeration of biblical stories in the Bible that have came into one. Even with Peter drawing his sword, okay, David down there as a young boy, Moses there and standing up against the armies, and then Moloch.
Now remember, this was excavated from a synagogue. Would the Jews have any reason to conflate a bunch of different stories like that?
If what they're telling us is the truth, I'm just look, all I'm doing, I don't care who excavated it, where they excavated it from. Art is interpretation, and I'm looking at it and interpreting in my way. And from what I know from the Bible, I'm just telling you what I'm looking at and what I see.
Okay.
He looks kind of Moses-esque.
Well, I don't think I finished the thing about. Did I finish the thing about the cloak? The significance of the cloak?
Sure.
Ellis's story about this is that.
No, you cannot. I'm right. You're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Is that Jesus was wearing that cloak because he was making a bid as well with his army for the throne of Rome at that time. It's really fascinating stuff, I think. I don't know if it's true, but it's very interesting. But anyway, the real reason I wanted to show this picture was the H, since we were talking about, Göbekli Tepe and all that really old stuff. And no one knows what this H symbol represents on this mosaic.
That is interesting, yeah.
Especially the fact that if these are Jewish priests circa 200 AD or whatever, somewhere around that time, how could you possibly connect that to symbolism that may have happened 5,000 plus years earlier
in Peru?
Yeah. So I have this weird theory in my head that there may actually be this bloodline that I'm chasing may actually have connections to a much, much, much earlier Göbekli Tepe type civilization, and maybe even older than that. And that's why they think they're better than us.
Nice. That's a perfect note for me to go to sleep on.
All right. Well, I didn't mean to upset anybody, but
you didn't upset anybody.
It's kind of hard to talk about this picture without getting into it pretty hard.
I don't know. No, man, that was a very interesting picture, and I'm glad you brought that. You brought that up. I do want to say this though. I know everybody's getting ready to go to bed, but throughout history, whether it's oral tradition or written tradition in one way or another, every civilization across this planet has acknowledged, no matter how old the civilization is, has acknowledged that there's a creator and there was a great flood.
Right.
Native Americans here in America, that they talk about it. I mean, all the way down to the Aztecs, to every civilization around this planet. So there's something to that. You cannot just totally dismiss that.
Right.
Yeah, even the Geo guy will agree with that.
So anyway, that's all I got.
Love it. Yeah, I got. I always have to get up at like 6 or 7 in the morning on Thursday, so that's why I usually keep it to 3 hours.
Well, man, I appreciate you having me on tonight. And Duppy, it was good talking to you again, my friend.
Yeah, anytime.
You gotta definitely keep a. There's sometimes it happens where this show goes till 2 a.m. and I'm like, that's a good recording, because listen to the 7 lurkers out there, 8 now total, and we're 3 of them, and Jess one the mod, and Ankavanka the other mod are 2 of them. I found this fascinating and riveting, so hopefully they did too. But this is a recording to remember.
Well, yeah, it was very enjoyable. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it too.
Very glad to be a part of it.
One last plug for Friday, because I don't know if Haas heard it earlier, but I'm going to be doing a show on Belushi's channel about, all that other research stuff that I've been doing. And what I'm going to be pitching this time is who I think is actually at the top of the pyramid right now, based on all that work. So it's kind of, I'm skipping over about 6 hours of supporting material to get to the end. And I'm just going to show the end and see if that kind of grabs people's fancy. Because I think that on my other shows that a lot of people probably had trouble getting through so much material to get to sort of the climax of the story. So I'm starting off there. And it's at supposed to be at 9 p.m. Eastern Friday night on Belushi's channel. So
cool.
You're welcome to tune in if you think it'd be of interest.
I tell you what, if you don't mind me doing a shameless plug there,
please hit it.
A shameless plug. All right, so Friday nights, the Hippie in the Hat, man, 9:00 Central, and
you're gonna overlap.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about it, but hey, man, I tell you what, there's always a replay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 9:00 Central, the Hippie and the Hat doing the big show here on the Texans channel, and then not only this Friday are we doing that, but next Friday, Zoe is actually going to be here and sitting next to me in the studio next Friday.
Man, that's right. He's on the road.
Yeah, he's hitting the road here pretty soon, and he's going to be crisscrossing America, and he's going to spend the night here in Dallas. We're going to do a show together, not this Friday, but next Friday, the 21st. And man, if we can get together, G. Ross, you've been to Dunstan's. I mean, is that not a great place to go?
Yes, that's very Texan. It's got to be done.
All right, man. G. Ross, man, I hope to see you there.
Yes.
At least at Dunstan's
for sure
that Friday night. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, I would not miss it.
So anybody in the DFW area, not this Friday, next Friday, the 21st, we're gonna try to get a foxhole get together going on there at Dunstan's Steakhouse in Dallas, Texas. Got any questions? DM me, please. And but besides that, that's my shameless plug, man. And I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I really do. Thank you so very much, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Hoss.
Dunstan's.
Good seeing you again.
July 21.
You too, brother.
You guys are awesome. I'll do my shameless plugs on a little outro tag after the call. It's basically I'm out of town this weekend. All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm bowing out, ladies and gentlemen.
Right on.
Have a great night. Be blessed. And, man, as always, God bless you. God bless America. And I'll see you down the road.
Well, thanks, G. Ross and audience, and what he said.
Right on.
Good night.
Good night. All right, team. Let me get out of here. A couple of ways to do that. First, I'm going to release the gold pills. The gold pills shall be released first. Zink. They have been released. Now, so I am considerate of you, Ankavanka. I just can't control the people. And I'm not going to undo making a co-host. So we tried to get troubleshooting going on. Anyway, thanks for being awesome, Ankavanka, like you always are. Just one, thank you. So yeah, shows upcoming. You heard about Duppies. You heard about the Texans. We're traveling. We've got some family business to attend to. A little bit of fun, mostly family business. Memorial service included. And so we'll be out Friday and Sunday. So I'll be back here next Wednesday for chapter 27 of Genesis with co-host Black Yoda. That's going to be on next Wednesday, 11 p.m. Central. Aka. I'll talk about it till the nth of time. Doing what prior to the show? Saying, hey, fix your shit. Yeah. We've talked about this. We've talked about this so many times. Fridays and Sundays are different. Let's just put it that way. How's that? All right, team. All right, it's an open lines. It's whoever wants to call in. I'm gonna hit the outro. I'm so sleepy. Love you all. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.